I just still remember back in the early days when everything started in 2020, sitting in my apartment at the time on the Upper East Side, messaging other agency owners saying like, let's have a, weekly meeting so we can all collaborate and figure out how we're all problem solving in the business right now. And I'm like, wait a second, we got to actually really bring all of this together.
Welcome to Girls Make Bank. Welcome. We are in for a treat today. We are talking to serial entrepreneur Stephanie Cartin. She is the co-founder and co-CEO of the award-winning and recently acquired Socialfly social media agency. And she's also the co-founder and co-CEO of Entreprenista League, which is a community for female business owners, which I myself am a part of. Stephanie is a lifelong champion of women, I know firsthand. And today we're going to talk about a few really important things. We're going to hear about how her early experience as a Girl Scout selling cookies taught her the importance of making her own money and really set her on a path towards entrepreneurship, and how her early sales experience has really helped her as a business owner later on in her life. We're also going to talk about what community means and how you can build your community to, in an authentic way, sell your services and your products. And finally, she's going to bust the myth that sales is only for extroverts. And she's going to give us some of her tips as a self-described introvert extrovert on how she mentally and professionally prepares for networking, events, in sort of high pressure situations. So stay tuned. Stephanie drops a ton of wisdom on us in this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you, Jack. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
I am so excited to have you here. And wow, you have such an impressive background. And I know firsthand the impact and the passion you have for women in business, being a member of the Entreprenista League myself and knowing you. We're going to talk a lot about the power of networks, communities, how we can leverage our networks and communities. But first, I want you to take us back to the beginning of your career. You started your career in sales. So how did that journey begin, and what led you to this path of entrepreneurship?
Yes, well, I will tell you what led me to the path of entrepreneurship was starting as a Girl Scout. So I was a brownie when I was growing up, and I remember I literally got my first taste of entrepreneurship selling Girl Scout cookies like so many of us did. And actually, I have to share, this weekend, my daughter had her first Girl Scout meeting as a daisy.
Sweet.
So I was like crying there. I'm like, oh, it's all full circle. But really, that's where my first real taste of entrepreneurship happened, because I learned about, when there's a demand for something, you can sell it and you can make money. And I just remember that feeling, being a top seller of my troop 30 plus years ago now. And that's really where I got my entrepreneurial itch. I just feel like I was born with it. But after Girl Scouts, I went on to sell a lot of other things as I was growing up, as many of us did, on our street corners, selling bracelets and lemonade. And I got into the Beanie Baby and Pog resale business back in the day. But when I graduated from college, I actually went to work for Marriott Vacation Club right out of school, and was in their they do a very intense sales training when you first start working for Marriott Vacation Club. And it was so impactful for me. And the reason why I wanted to work for Marriott Vacation Club when I first graduated from school was because I actually grew up with vacation ownership. So I knew firsthand how impactful that program was for our family. And for me, what I learned growing up was, if I actually genuinely like something and have a passion for it, it's very easy to sell it because I genuinely believe in it. So that's how I got my start, Jack.
I love that. And so what does that sales background teach you as you move forward and become a founder, a CEO, a business leader? How do you take those skills and bring them to the present day?
Yeah, one of the most important things I learned early on is just the importance of listening. So asking questions and really listening and understanding what your potential client, customer, or audience is looking for. So that was really ingrained in me from the very beginning when I started going through sales training over, 20 years ago now. It's really listening is the most important thing in sales, but also really in life at looking to accomplish. You can then answer those questions and those needs with whatever you might be selling or offering.
It's so true. And I think one of the reasons women are such excellent sellers, even though it doesn't always feel good, is because we do listen really well. And we're solutions oriented. And so in order to provide the right solution, you have to really understand what your customer is looking for. And you only really get that by listening to what they're telling you.
Absolutely. And I feel like, sales has this like negative connotation. It's like people just feel like icky about selling. And I'm always like, why? It's not a bad thing. Like we are, we're consultants. We're learning what the needs of our clients and customers are, and we're offering them a solution to help them. Like we're just problem solvers, figuring out and like detective problem solvers. Like what do they need? What do they need help with? And how can we solve it? There is no reason why we should feel bad about that or icky about that. We are creating solutions and offering them to other people. Like, don't feel bad about it.
I totally agree. And I think that oftentimes sales gets this, people have this idea that sales is about getting people to say yes to what it is, sort of forcing something on someone. And I love how you turn that around. And that's what I do also is, it's about providing a solution.
Yeah.
Do you have a match to solve what somebody else needs help with? And I often tell my clients that the best way to sell is to find the right people who you can be a solution for, and don't be afraid to get to know fast. Or it's not a no, but it's a not right now. Yeah. That's okay. And when you're often selling yourself, either it's your product or your service, getting that no can feel personal, but it's not personal. It's about finding, listening and providing the right solution. I love that.
Absolutely.
And so tell me about Entreprenista and what inspired you to start it.
Sure. Entreprenista really came about as a result of running our marketing agency business, Socialfly. So I'll take you back about over a decade now. So Courtney and I started our first business, Socialfly, which is a full service social media marketing and influencer agency over 12 years ago now. We were actually both working in the corporate world, and we started taking on clients on the side, working nights and weekends for about 10 months before we said to each other, all right, this is going to be an actual business. Let's go all in and do it, or not do it at all. So we decided to quit our corporate jobs, and it was actually on the same day. It was May 4th of 2012. And we never looked back, and we grew and scaled our agency business really organically, doing great work for our clients, always practicing what we preach with our own marketing strategies for our agency business. So we were very quickly number one on Google for social media agency and influencer agency, and we were winning awards for our work. And what started to happen was, because of the quick growth and success of Socialfly, so many other women founders and entrepreneurs were reaching out to us all the time, wanting to go out to coffee and pick our brain and really just wanting to hear how we did it. And Courtney and I, as you know, we're the type of people that like to literally help absolutely everyone. But we did start to realize it became physically impossible and not scalable to go out to coffee all day, every day, and actually run our business. So we started thinking, how can we help as many women founders as possible, but actually do it at scale? So our initial solve for this was, we'll start a podcast like this, and we can share all of these awesome stories of women founders that are growing and scaling businesses. So when someone reaches out and says, I want to start a fashion company, we can say, go listen to this episode with Michelle Gray and hear how she grew and scaled her business lively. So that's how Entreprenista started, was as our podcast back at the end of 2018. But then when the pandemic happened in 2020, we were getting so many messages from women at the time who were listeners of our podcast. And we were hearing things, Jack, like, I lost my job during the pandemic. I want to start a business. Can you help? Or I need to pivot. Can you help? And here Courtney and I were time also trying to navigate our own business during the pandemic, but we were like, we have to bring everyone together and we have to create this community because everyone needs it, and we needed it too. So Courtney and I decided back in the middle of 2020 that we would divide and conquer at that point, which we'd always done in business. So we decided she would stay focused on growing and scaling Socialfly, and I would focus on building everything out with Entreprenista to be what it is now today, our media company and our membership community, the Entreprenista League. So that is how Entreprenista officially started.
Yeah, and I think I was an early member of
You were,
Entreprenista
yes.
League, and I find so much value in the community and in the relationships I've built in the community. Was that the moment you realized how necessary community is? Was at the height of, when the pandemic hit and sort of gathering, or was there sort of an aha moment earlier that then you were able to transform your business
Yeah,
into something that met a need?
it was before that that I realized the importance of community. Really, just as we were growing and scaling Socialfly, we were creating community for ourselves in New York City. So we were, starting to bring entrepreneurs together to meet up together so we could all connect. We had joined other organizations and networking groups. So we always saw all along how important having your network
Mm-hmm.
and having a community is, and really just having like your people that you can rely on and count on and build relationships with. So like organically, we had created that for ourselves over the years. But really, the catalyst was the pandemic when we were like, oh my gosh, like we need to formally actually bring all of this together so we can really help everyone at scale, because we hadn't done that yet. And I just still remember back in the early days, when everything started in 2020, sitting in my apartment at the time on the Upper East Side, messaging other agency owners saying, like, let's have a weekly meeting so we can all collaborate and figure out how we're all problem solving in the business right now. And I'm like, wait a second, we got to like actually really bring all of this together. So
And I love that because it kind of brings it full circle to what we talked about before with listening. You were listening to your community and saying, we need help. We need to support each other. We need to, leverage our collective brain power to get through this moment of time. And that's, what you built. You built a solution for the women that were coming to you needing support. And I think that's also something in sales is, maybe you don't have the solution, but you hear something enough and you realize, oh, there's a market here, there's a need here. I can build this to solve the problem that people are having.
absolutely. And when you create something that is so valuable and it helps so many people, you don't have to feel bad about charging for that and offering something of value to other people. Because, like we were saying before, I see people all the time saying, like, oh, I feel so bad selling this. And I'm like, I feel so empowered offering this solution to help everyone come together. And everything we create in our business, not when I say our business, I mean for everyone in everyone's business, like you are creating something so special and unique, and you're giving other people the opportunity to experience that and derive value from that. So feel good about offering and selling what you have.
Yeah, that's right. I think confidence plays a big part in selling. And I'm not a mindset coach, but I do believe that, doing the hard work of building your solution and honing your craft and, going out and talking to people about what it is you do builds the confidence that makes it easier to go out and do it again and again and again.
Absolutely.
And on that note, networking and selling, we talked about it. It doesn't really often feel good for women. We sort of get this ick feeling. How do you think women can leverage their networks and their communities to really boost their business and their sales growth? What have you seen as some great tips and success stories that come out of that?
Really, to me, it's all about the power of building real, authentic, and meaningful relationships. So I think, as you just mentioned, the other word that people say like just gets the ick factor is like networking. It's like sales and networking. And it's like, okay, let's just take away those words then. All this really is about relationship building, networking, building real, meaningful relationships, and then offering something of value to other people, selling. Like that's it. So, how can we build real, meaningful, authentic relationships? It's actually, you have to actually like people. Like, you have to actually want to get to know people and find out what's important to them, what can be helpful to them, learn about them. And always be the person that wants to help connect and make those relationships and connections with other people, because that's when the real power happens in networks or in communities, is by building these real meaningful relationships. So that's what I have found to be just my superpower, and the superpower for other people in communities that really succeed and are able to grow their business. They want to genuinely connect and get to know other people.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I always say, coming from a place of service,
Hmm.
how can I serve you? What is it that I can do to help you outside of something that I have to sell?
Yes.
Is there a connection you need? Is there, a suggestion that I can provide for you? Do you need a babysitter recommendation, right? Like, how
Yes.
can I help you? And I find that that's the best way when you come to networking and even selling from a place of it's not about me, it's really about you.
Yeah.
You're able to form those genuine connections because you're being authentic and you want to see the other person succeed. And that's what community is all about, is supporting and building and lifting each other.
Absolutely.
What are some of the common mistakes you see people make when they come into a community like Entreprenista League or something else, where they just don't either leverage it in the best way, or they don't see the full potential of what a community can do for them, both personally and professionally?
Connections in a community really only start when you're there to build these real and authentic relationships. So if you go into a community, whether it's Entreprenista or any other type of community that you might be involved in, if you go in there and just start selling, right, just like offering things without learning about other people and without making connections or real relationships with other people, that's when you likely won't have success, right? You have to actually be in there to build real relationships, because otherwise, sure, could you go in there and just post, like, here's what I'm offering today? Sure. And someone might see it and maybe they'll be interested, maybe they won't. But the power really is when you go into a community to connect and build these real relationships. So the advice I share with members of our community is, we actually have a room in our community platform called Introduce Yourself. So right when you get into the community, you want to go in there and introduce yourself, share a bit about yourself, about your background, share who you're looking to connect with, share how you can help other people, what you can offer other people. And then I always recommend, we love the company Calendly. Jack, do you have a Calendly?
I have a Calendly. I love it.
Love Calendly. So like share a link to your Calendly for a connection call and a get to know you call with other members, but be really specific about who you're looking to connect with. If you're joining a community because let's say you're a service provider and it could be helpful for you to partner with other service providers that don't offer the services that you offer, share, I own a social media agency agencies and web design agencies and branding agencies. So if you're looking to connect and form partnerships, book a call on my Calendly and let's set up a connection call and get to know each other. That's something that Courtney and I did very early on at Socialfly through, other networks that we were a part of. And we formed these real, genuine relationships with other service providers. And then we set up these strategic partnerships together. So there's so much opportunity when you're there to build these real relationships, and you're not just there to like just post about yourself and to offer things all day long without getting to know people.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. And it's the give and the take, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what a relationship is. It's mutual value exchange. So
Yes.
saying, hey, I'm here to help. This is who I am. This is what I do. Let's connect. And being specific. I loved that, because I think a lot of times people don't know exactly what they need or who they're trying to connect with. And so they end up kind of wasting a lot of time, right? Sort of, selling to people, or it's always great to make a lot of different connections. But I love what you said about, like, I'm looking to connect with X, Y, and Z. Here are ways find, or they say they find networking and sales uncomfortable because they consider themselves shy or an introvert. And I think there's a misunderstanding that the extroverts or the loudest people in the room are the best at selling and networking. I don't think that's true. And so I'd love to kind of get your tips or perspective on how people who don't consider themselves outgoing, can, excel or get comfortable with networking and selling.
Yes. Well, I know a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but I am actually very introverted. So I consider myself an introverted extrovert, if you will. Like I actually get um a lot of passion just from like talking to someone one on one, but you put me in a group with a lot of people and I get so overwhelmed. It's like too overstimulating for me. I really like to focus on, having conversations like this with one person. So, something that I've learned over the years that has been really helpful for me that I love to share this advice is if I am going to go to an event with a lot of people, I'll try to see if there's a list of who's going to be there ahead of time and then see, okay, of these people, if my goal is XYZ at the event, who would it make sense for me to potentially connect with? Can I reach out to them ahead of time, send them a LinkedIn message, send them an email and say, hey, I saw you're going to be at this event. I'd love to connect. Then I'm already building that one on one relationship with that person ahead of time. I can go find them at the event and then start that conversation one on one instead of walking into an event with hundreds of people and being like, who should I talk to? Who should I go up to? What do I say? So that's something that I've learned to do when it comes to going to large events. The other thing is having a list of questions if you're going to go to an event that you can already have in your back pocket to ask people. So if you're, nervous to go up to someone and start a conversation, just already have a few questions that you might want to ask. So something you might want to say is, what brings you to this event or what was your goal from coming to this event today? Just an icebreaker to then start that conversation. And also just always having an elevator pitch prepared. So if someone asks you, what's your business? What do you do? That you don't have to like stumble to think about how to describe yourself, how to describe your business. That's something that you can practice ahead of time at home and you already have that ready to go.
I love that idea because I think you hit on three really important things. And it's about sort of preparing. If you know something is uncomfortable, right? There are things we can control and things we can't control. If networking and selling and being in a group like that is uncomfortable for you might not be able to control that, but what you can control is how prepared you are when you show up. And so I love the three things you said is one, identifying who you want to connect with and making those connections ahead of time, because I think then when you get there, it's more comfortable, right? The ice has already been broken, so to speak. Now you can sort of like, hi, we emailed. I love that. I love the idea of having questions prepared ahead of time because if small talk is uncomfortable, if it doesn't come natural, and it's not really comfortable for anybody, by the way, introvert, extrovert, small talk can be awkward. Having a few questions definitely sort of makes it easier to ease in. And having your elevator pitch down is almost a must have if you're in business, is being able to really concisely, really quickly explain what it is you do and not ramble on and keep it nice and tight. I love those three things. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your own community building journey?
Yes. I wish many, many years ago when we started our first business that I had a CRM for every single person that I've ever met and had everything organized because I didn't do that. I kept so much in my head, and that's not a good way to build a scalable and repeatable process and to be able to remember absolutely everything. So, 12 plus years ago, my memory was pretty good. I used to be able to remember absolutely everything. But 12 years later, I can't remember the names of every single person that I met or, what they needed. And had I written everything down, I would have been able to make even more connections. So my advice is have a CRM even for your personal contacts and people that you're meeting, in life and in business. And when you meet people and they're looking for something, write it down, have a note, because now you might meet someone else who says, oh, I'm looking for, a web development agency. I'm looking for a branding agency. And I can say, oh, you need to go talk to Emily. She can help you with that. So now I have everything pretty organized over the past couple of years, but I did not have that early on in business and wish that I did.
Same. I feel like the like ability to remember everything and put it in one place. And I love the notes feature that you talked about, because
Hmm.
I think that's where the real value comes into play. And even when you talk to so many people, remembering certain things around, oh, this person's dog is really dog's name, and
Yes,
what's going on with this and this, because all of that stuff I think is really important, but you can only hold so much in your brain. And so being
I
able
know.
to kind of remember it and keep it organized is great.
Something I always tell people a lot of times when I'm having Zoom, so I have a second screen, but I'll always let people know on the Zoom, letting them know I have a second screen over here and I'm taking notes on our conversation so I don't forget everything. That way, whoever I'm speaking with, they know I'm very focused on them right now on Zoom. But if you see me looking over here, that's why, because I'm taking notes.
And that's taking notes while we're talking. And so I think that's, I need to do that. I need to do that.
I always set the stage just so everyone knows. Yeah.
And so how can listeners connect with Entreprenista League and get involved?
Well, if you want to join our incredibly supportive community that, of course, Jack, you are a part of, you can join us over at entreprenista.com/join. And then we are all over social media at Entreprenistas with an S at the end. So Entreprenista with an S. And I am on Instagram personally at Steph Jill Cartin and over on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to send me a DM and I'm always here to help support.
Which I can vouch for. That is true. And so what's next for you in Entreprenista League?
We have big plans ahead in 2025. So we will be launching our third year of our Entreprenista 100 Awards in January, which is super exciting. We are also going through a big rebrand and website refresh and lots of other things to come in 2025. So we're working on all of that behind the scenes. So very excited for the launch and just continuing to serve our community and our members and really give everyone the best experience so everyone can make the best connections and build the best relationships. So that's what's ahead.
I love that. And I can't wait to see the rebrand and everything that you guys have in store. I know it's going to be amazing.
Thank you, Jack.
Stephanie, thank you so much for spending this time with me and our listeners. You have dropped some real gold knowledge for us to take in and digest. Be sure to follow Stephanie on Instagram, connect with her on LinkedIn, and check out Entreprenista League. Everything will be below in the show notes. There is so much power in working together and lifting each other up. Find your girl crew, support each other, build together, and let's make bank. Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Make Bank. If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe, like, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. Please review and share our show to help spread the word and help your girls make bank. And I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or visit honeybeesgroup.co. Until next time, friends.